Well, good evening, folks. You are watching Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, to be joined by Coach Close here in just a couple of minutes. Iowa with the 81-65 win in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. And watching here as we're getting ready to start, Wake Forest and Wisconsin coming down to the line. I don't think I'm allowed to give you play-by-play, but I can tell you that Wisconsin's down 3 and with 9.2 seconds remaining. They're at home playing a Wake Forest team that is 6-1. This is a good matchup. It's been a good game. Obviously, didn't watch most of the game because of the Iowa Yellow Jackets game. But Wisconsin now, Wake Forest fouling up 3. And so now Chucky Hepburn will go to the line for 2 free throws. He makes the first. So it's now a 2-point game. Also, to let you know, number 3, Virginia leading Michigan. Now, they have come back on the road in Ann Arbor. They lead the Wolverines by 4, 65-61, under 5 to go. Chucky Hepburn's second free throw is good. It's now a 1-point game. Wisconsin will have to either force a steal or foul. They'll foul now with 8.9 seconds remaining. So the Demon Deacons will have 2 shots and will continue to play this foul game. Wake Forest will have a 1-1. That is obviously significant. Wisconsin does have a timeout. So, you play that foul game when you're not in the double bonus. When you are not in the double bonus, let me make that clear. You are not in the double bonus. Then even if you're able to avoid a 3-point shot that could potentially tie the game, you're forced to make the front end of a 1-1. So here's the first free throw, and it is good. So Wake Forest now leading 77-75 with 8.9 seconds remaining. All these games consequential if you're looking at the Big Ten ACC Challenge as a whole. I believe the Big Ten now leads by 1 game. Iowa's win giving the Big Ten the slight edge. But again, this game and then Virginia, Michigan coming down to the wire. Second free throw for Wake Forest is good. He makes them both 2 clutch free throws. Here come the Badgers. 8.9 remaining. We'll see if they foul again. Here's a deep 3, and he was trying to, who was that? Hepburn was trying to draw the foul on the deep 3, and that was a terrible, terrible decision. Wake Forest held up fouling, and the game is over. 78-77, the Demon Deacons steal one in Madison, and the ACC Big Ten Challenge has been both entertaining and high quality. We had a double overtime game earlier today between Clemson and Penn State. So, yeah, I don't even know how to really obviously, I don't do play-by-play for a living. I don't even know how to describe that last attempt, trying to draw a foul on the 3, assuming that the 3-point shot was coming. It's just a dumb play. I don't even know who that was. Chucky Hepburn? Who's number 23? Tyree Appleby, big night for Wake Forest, 32 points, 5 assists. But let's get to the game we all care about, the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. The Hawkeyes defeating Georgia Tech 81-65. And, you look at this game, obviously you see the stats scrolling across the bottom of the screen. The story of this game was Chris Murray, 31 points, 20 rebounds. Yes, he got that 20th board in the final moments. And let me make a correction. The ACC now leads this challenge 4-3. Okay, I guess that's correct. So I don't know what the result was. There must have been another game that went final since we came on the air, since Iowa finished up. Let's see here. I don't know. Maybe I misjudged the tally unless they have that wrong. 65-65 now, Virginia, Michigan, just so everybody's aware, and I'll keep you posted on that game. But Chris Murray, tremendous performance tonight, folks. 31 points, 20 rebounds after a trip down to Tony, Niceville, Florida. Tony, nod your head. Yes, Niceville. Okay. I said I'd never have to use that name again, but I just summoned Niceville, Florida. So after Iowa's trip to Niceville, where Chris Murray struggled mightily in both games, that against TCU and against Clemson, he bounces back today in a big, big way. And Iowa needed him because the first half, immense struggles for Iowa offensively, anyone not named Chris Murray. But again, enough people stepped up in that second half. You see Philip Rebracha with 13.7 rebounds. How about Connor McCaffrey? 10 points, 10 rebounds. He is fun to watch, isn't he? You watch Connor McCaffrey and his improved three-point jump shot. It is incredible. We're seeing a bigger sample size now with Connor McCaffrey. So again, all around, you got the W. This is a Georgia Tech team that I don't want to say it's not very good, but will probably finish in at least the lower half of the ACC, maybe the lower quarter of the ACC. That is a projection. KenPom has them near 200 in offense. So you may say, well, they held them to 65, improved defensively. I am not going to buy into that narrative yet. This is not a very good offensive Yellow Jacket team. Their offense is offensive, very much like Iowa football's offense. So anyways, we're going to get to Coach Close here in a minute. I see Eric talking about free throws. Iowa shot the free throw. I mean, they shot free throws well down in Niceville. There's going to be some, as I'm just getting distracted here, 65-65 still Virginia, Michigan as we return here on ESPN. But free throws are just kind of one of those things. It's going to, some nights they fall, some nights they don't. I do think this is going to be a good free throw shooting team. We saw Iowa go with the lineup change with Peyton Sandfort starting the game on the bench. Aaron Eulis coming in as a starter. Kind of an interesting lineup with basically 2 point guards, if you will, and Tony still running the show. But overall, got the job done, and they were also assisted by Tony Perkins, who was in double figures with 11 points on the night. All right, let's add Coach Gary Close to the mix. And Coach, first of all, good to see you, sir.
Yeah, good to be with you, Corey.
What in the world? I'm gonna say something about the end of the Wisconsin game. First of all, who's 23? Is that Chucky Hepburn?
Yeah.
Why is he trying to draw? I understand that he thought that Wake Forest is trying to foul there.
Right.
That just looked like a bonehead play. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not.
Okay. Thank you for acknowledging that. I'm watching this, and I was trying to not give play-by-play for everybody, but describe what's happening, and I don't really know how to describe that. I've seen guys do that before. That's not something you coach. Like Greg Gard didn't tell Chucky, try to get in your motion because they're going to foul again, right? That's not something that a coach.
No, I mean they might have mentioned it that they're probably going to try to foul you, which they did the possession before, and he made both free throws, and then Wake Forest made their 2 free throws. So yeah, that was not one of his better plays.
So again, ACC leads the Big Ten right now 4-3, but the Hawkeyes helping the conference out in this challenge with the 81-65 win over Georgia Tech. Gary, a lot to get to, but Iowa needed a bounce-back victory. I thought this was a perfectly placed game because just the TCU game the other night kind of left a bad taste in your mouth. I thought Iowa got beat physically in that game. We haven't talked since that loss. Iowa struggled on the glass. This is a Georgia Tech team that will probably finish in the lower quarter of the ACC, at least lower half of the ACC. So I felt like it was a good opportunity to get a win against a Power 5 team back at home, heading into a break before you hit a real tough stretch with Duke, Iowa State, and of course Wisconsin. Just your thoughts on the win today.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's always interesting to see how a team reacts to a game where they don't play particularly well. Like you mentioned, I thought physically they came up way short in the last game. And so you learn from your mistakes, you watch some tape, and then you watch and see how they responded. And I think for the most part, they responded well and did a lot of things well tonight and got back on track before a real tough stretch coming up.
You were, of course, traveling during the game on Saturday. How much of the TCU game were you able to catch up on?
I probably saw maybe half of it, but it was very easy to tell that they physically they just did not match up. TCU's a big physical team, and Iowa just could not hold their own, whether it was rebounding or stopping people inside, scoring inside. It was they were physically overmatched, and I'm sure that was a point of emphasis these last few days before this game.
And obviously tonight, Chris Murray looked like a different basketball player. He struggled mightily in both games. And Clemson and TCU, I think you could agree. I think you saw more of the Clemson game than the TCU game. Clemson is a physical team as well. They just play a physical brand.
Right.
Do you think that had to do with Chris's struggles over the weekend?
Yeah, I think it did. That's something he's going to have to get better at. And I think teams will try to, the tape is out there. So I think they'll try to play like that. Georgia Tech played a lot of zones. It's pretty tough to play physical when you're playing a zone. And I thought Iowa struggled a little bit early against the zone, and then they got into a pretty good rhythm. And when they didn't make the shot, they went and got it and put it back in. So they really did a terrific job on the glass. And but that was not a very physical Georgia Tech team. So they'll be stronger tests down the road in terms of physicality. I'm guessing in these next 3 games.
I don't want to harp on TCU because obviously we're talking about a win tonight, but since we haven't talked since then, did that game remind you at all? And I was at that Iowa State game last year. Did it remind you at all of Iowa's trip to Hilton last year?
I don't know. I don't really remember the trip to Hilton last year, to tell you the truth.
Just was you get dominated on the glass, you get pushed around. It just felt like the same type of a loss.
I think that's the way teams are going to play Iowa. They're not a big physical team, and so they're going to have to hold their own from that from that standpoint, and that'll be an interesting thing to watch as the year goes on, because there are some physical teams in the Big Ten.
All right, so to let everybody know what's going on with Virginia, Michigan, before we get to our first caller who's on hold. We've got an injury timeout, an extended injury timeout. Looks like somebody got maybe gashed in the eye. Can't really tell from the camera view, but it's still 65-65. Michigan has led the majority of this game. Virginia coming back in the second half, minute 41 to go. So we'll keep you posted on that. Let's get to Ryan, who's been on hold. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Good, Ryan. How are you?
Great, man.
Are you at a bar?
No, I'm at home. Question, Coach. Not necessarily today, especially when Chris Murray just completely went off, 31 and 20. Holy smokes! But that's going to be an anomaly, right? And so when we get into the heart of the matter, sorry about that. So when you get in the heart of the matter, should we go with the 2 guards who have been very successful at driving and weaving through with the easy layup? Bowen, I already think I have a man crush on him. And Tony Perkins has been doing it for a long time. Tyler Ulis. I noticed today Ulis was in the lineup and not Peyton Sanford, which I agree with. Just kind of your thoughts on that. I honestly think if we can utilize quick guards, which we haven't had in a while, to this extent, that we can steal some pretty good points on just driving the lane. And I want to know what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think with Peyton, he'd been struggling a little bit, and sometimes he came off the bench last year, so maybe get him a chance to come off the bench, watch the game a little bit before he comes in, and see if they can't get him to play a little bit better, play in a situation where maybe he's more comfortable with. And I agree with you. They've got some quickness, and your objective offensively is to break the defense down with penetration, whether it's dribbling or passing or screening and things like that. So I thought, although Ulis did not shoot the ball real well, he did a good job of running the offense and had some good assists, and so he played fine. I think the scoring will come. So I'm guessing they'll probably stay with that for a little while because it worked out pretty well.
And I think DeSante Bowen is going to be the next star. Not necessarily this year. It could be, to a poor man's degree of what Keegan was his freshman year. But I'm saying the guy that has shown flashes where, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I like what I've seen from him. He's got good physical skills, quickness. Yeah, I think he's got a chance to be a real good player. Just he's a freshman, so you're gonna have to go with the growing pains. But I've liked what I've seen so far too.
Thank you very much, and Corey, you're the best in the business.
Oh, come on.
Oh, you're a young. You know what? I thought you were 45, but I think you're like 27 or
I'm 45. I don't know what Corey is.
Yeah. Both 45, Gary.
You're great, Corey, and can't wait to talk football with you soon.
Okay, sir. Appreciate it, man. All right. Let's go on. We've got James, and then we've got Tony. James, welcome back to the show.
How you doing?
I'm good. Let me just give everybody an update real quick before we get to your comment. Virginia leading Michigan 67-66, 25 seconds to go. Michigan with the ball. I'm not supposed to be doing play-by-play, so I'm not going to really do that. But I'll just tell you 20 seconds to go, and Michigan has the ball, 8 on the shot clock. Does this quantify as play-by-play, and they turn the ball over?
You got a future in that.
Yeah. They turned the ball over, Gary. So now Beekman will go to the free throw line for Virginia. A sloppy turnover is Juwan.
Turnovers will kill you, won't they? Gee, many Christmas.
Yep. Bad turnover.
Wow.
So now they'll get the ball back with down either 2 or 3 with a chance to.
That's a good win for Michigan if they can pull that out, or Virginia if they can pull that out.
They were. What was it? Did you catch any of that in the first half? They were down big in that first half.
They were down big. Yeah, Michigan played real well in the first half. I think they're up like 8 or 10 at half, and I didn't see hardly any of the second half because I was watching the Iowa game.
Well, just so you're aware, Beekman just missed the first free throw, and here comes the second free throw, and that one's good. Now, I believe they must have called a clear path foul because there was nobody standing at the free throw line with Beekman. So is a clear path foul now? Does that mean it's Virginia ball? Am I correct in saying that, Gary?
I'm not sure.
So now we got a timeout. So we'll see what happens here. Virginia called timeout. James,
so Virginia's up 2?
Virginia's up 2, 68-66, 15.8 remaining.
Oh, they got a chance to come down tire and win it.
James, you got a question for Coach?
Yeah. What do you think? Okay, my point was, I missed the first half. Obviously, I had practice, so I missed the first half. I gotta catch the second half though. But what was your point of thinking about starting? I think starting Ulis is better. I like Sanford. I think Sanford's a better shooter, obviously. But I feel like with him in the starting lineup, you don't have as much wing depth off the bench. Does that make sense? Because Connor can play wing a little bit, but he's kind of a guard. You have DeSante and Aaron are both guards. So if you put him on the bench, then you get a little bit of wing depth on the bench and have a guard starting. So then you putting DeSante in for the other 2 guards. Connor kind of plays both, and then you have Peyton who's an actual wing. I feel like that works better than bringing all guards off the bench, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does, and it worked tonight. I think it was a good coaching move, and that's kind of similar to what they did late last year, changing up the guards a little bit. So we'll have to watch and see if it continues. But I thought it was a good move. Connor McCaffrey was terrific.
Yeah.
He played an outstanding game. He is such a great passer. I thought they were struggling a little bit against the zone early, and when they brought him in, it just changed completely. He made some unbelievable penetrating passes, and he's tough. He rebounds. He doesn't get enough credit. He is really a good basketball player.
And I feel like he's the perfect piece you want off the bench. He does everything you need. Obviously, he's been there 6 years, so at this point, he should do everything you need. Because you've been there pretty much a long time. But he does everything you need him to do. And now with his improved 3-point shot, it makes it even better. To bring him off the bench because he can knock down the shots when you need him to knock down the shots. Because the first 2 years it used to be like Connor shooting threes. Oh no, watch out! Like they're probably not gonna go in, get ready for the rebound. Now it's like you can trust it to go in.
I think isn't he shooting like 65% from three?
Yeah, I think I said like 8 for 12 or something. Yeah, yeah, and he's shooting with confidence. Yeah, he's an improved player without a doubt.
And then
just so you're aware, real quick, James, let me just so you're aware, it was a clear path foul. So Virginia got the ball again. Kihei Clark gets fouled, makes the front end of a 1-and-1. We've now got another timeout. So it's a 3-point lead. One more free throw can make it a 4-point game. By the way, that Rebracha foul I thought was bogus. Gary, your thoughts on that? I thought that should have been a flop. I know the commentators acted like they knew what they were talking about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it might have been. It was close.
I just, this flop rule, you didn't like it when it was instituted, and we talked about it several weeks ago, and I was okay with it. But over the last few games, there have been some bad calls or bad no calls as it relates to the flop.
Yeah, there was one in the Wisconsin game, too, they called a flop.
We have one, for example, Peyton one where he got hit after the three when he shot the three and then got hit, and then they called it a flop. I'm not one to always blame the refs. Like, obviously, there's always stuff you can do in a game, especially a close game. Like if it's a close game and you lose, it's not always refs' fault because there's moments you missed, obviously, that could change the results of a game. But for me, it's good that we get a week off, when we play Duke, because it gets you a little bit more scouting. And Duke has 2 tough games, I think you said, in that stretch too, Corey, if I remember right.
They get beat up.
Yeah, they've already. Who did they lose to? They got beat up by Purdue the other day. By the way,
they got beat up by Purdue.
Second free throw by Kihei Clark was good, so they go up 4, and then Hunter Dickinson goes down the floor and scores with 6.9 remaining. So now Virginia inbounding it, and there'll be a foul with 5.7 to go. So a couple more free throws will probably do it.
They'll get Ohio State before they play us as well.
I'll be interested to see that. I've not seen Ohio State play very much this year at all. They haven't lost. I know they played anybody, but I wasn't. I think Duke's good, but I wasn't overly. I think Iowa can match up with Duke. They're not very physical. They're athletic. They're talented, but boy, Purdue just buried them.
It's also hard to like.
Yeah, so
to
not that Iowa plays like that, but I think it's going to be a good matchup. I think it'll be fun to watch.
And they get, just for the record, Duke does. They get Ohio State tomorrow, and then they get Boston College over the weekend.
Oh, they stink.
Well, do they stink? They're 5-2, Gary. Do they
Boston Colleges?
Yeah, they're 5-2. Let's see.
Well, they probably played a few D2 teams.
Yeah, you're right. 2-point win over Cornell, 4-point win over Detroit Mercy, 5-point loss to Maine, and a 16-point loss to Tarleton.
Okay. Well,
never mind. Well, they are 5-2. I did say
those records can be a little deceiving this time of year. How about Louisville?
Them to play somebody.
Oh, goodness.
Man alive. Okay, so for everybody, just so everybody's aware, and people who listen to this on podcasts later are going to be annoyed by this, but Virginia now up 2, and I've got a timeout. Virginia now to the free throw line, and I'm trying to figure out who this is at the free throw line. But 2 free throws for the Cavaliers. They are in the double bonus. Again, up 70-68 in Ann Arbor. This is former Hoosier Armand Franklin to the free throw line, who struggled today with just 2 points. And you can seal it with 2 free throws. First free throw is no good. So here's a miss off the front end. 5 seconds to go.
Front end, a 1-on-1. Oh, boy.
Handoff, half court. And again, just like the Wisconsin game, no shot. Trying to draw a foul on a 3. And no real attempt, Gary. Trying to draw a foul on a 3.
Obviously, Michigan didn't have any more timeouts.
Correct. And now you've got a bunch of blank faces on the Michigan staff and Michigan roster, but I'm trying to figure out who this was, who number 13 is. But yeah, trying to. Well, it looked like the ball got knocked out. So that was a clean play. It looked like by Tony Bennett's defense. So
try to block his shot.
Yeah, he was trying to draw a foul. You'll have to see it later. But
the thing about it is Wisconsin had a timeout, though.
Wisconsin did?
Yeah, Wisconsin did have a timeout.
Wisconsin had a timeout and Chucky Hepburn still shot the shot.
Yeah.
Well, that was obviously not a play that Greg Gard drew up. So anyways, bottom line, Virginia beats Michigan in Ann Arbor with the big comeback, 70-68. So now the ACC with a decent lead. But we've got another night of hoops in front of us. 5-3 lead ACC over the Big Ten. James, anything else?
Yeah, I was happy for Chris to get that last one, even though it came with it doesn't matter if it comes with 1 second or not, you still get 20 rebounds no matter which way you cut it. So good for him to
They
get.
all count.
Yep, good for him to get a 30-20. I mean, so I don't think that hasn't happened a lot. I don't even know if it has. It's probably happened before. I don't guarantee it's not happened before, but it's probably a very few amount of times it's happened at Iowa.
I'd be interested to see the last time somebody scored 30 and 20 at Iowa.
Could it have been his brother?
I'm sure. I'm guessing Luca did it once or twice.
Luca probably did it.
Maybe Luca did it.
Might
Yeah.
have.
Yeah,
But I don't think obviously it's a feat that maybe hasn't happened a lot. So it'd be interesting to see. But it's always something interesting to see somebody go.
Corey will get right on that.
It actually might be in the. I'll look. It might be in the release that the university just sent out. Actually, let's see here. Let's see. Chris Murray recorded his 4th double-double in 5 games, reaching double-digit rebounds and points in the first 13-15 of the game. That's an impressive number. Reaching a double-double in the first 13 minutes of the game. That's insane.
That is something. That's impressive.
Wow, he's
points
netted,
are one thing, but to get 10 rebounds in the first 13 minutes, that's doing some rebounding.
The last time a Hawkeye pulled down 20 or more rebounds in a game was Chris's brother Keegan versus North Carolina Central in 2021. Tonight's 20 rebounding performance marks the 25th time in program history that feat was accomplished. Murray's 31 and 20 are both the most by a Hawkeye in an ACC Challenge game. The 20 rebounds tie Justin Champagny, thank you, Pitt in 2020 for the most by any player in a challenge game and are the most by any Big Ten player. There you go. There you go, Gary. See, your wish is my command as it relates to.
But it didn't say about the 30 and 20.
Well, I told you the last time it happened was Keegan.
No, they said 20 rebounds. They didn't say 30
20
points.
rebounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't say that. It doesn't say anything about. Oh, here we go. Hold on a second. The last Hawkeye to total 30-plus points and 15-plus rebounds in a game was Garza at Minnesota in 2020, where he had 32 and 17. So it does not say.
Well, that's not 20.
I know. It doesn't say. So, in other words, Keegan did not do it. And
Luca didn't do it.
I'm wondering if Garza did.
And we may go way back.
Yeah, absolutely. James,
but I want to say I appreciate y'all for taking my call, and obviously, tough stretch coming up because Duke is Duke. Obviously, I mean they're not the Duke of the old, but Duke always has a name brand, so obviously for them it's always flashy. Iowa State is always
toughest game might be Iowa State.
And Iowa State's tough. I mean, they did lose to UConn, who obviously beat North Carolina, who I don't know how good North Carolina is. Like, obviously, they were ranked number 1, but I don't know if they're number 1 right now. It's early. Kind of hard to tell. Sometimes you play all the way the right way you should play at the beginning of the year. But then they did lose to UConn, which is – UConn's a good team, so I'm not going to out them any. But, it's kind of weird. You beat North Carolina team that lose to UConn. It tells you that you never know in college basketball. So
you never know, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate the call, James.
Yep,
Thank you.
First career double-double for Chris Murray tonight. How about that for a stat? I'm surprised by that.
First one?
He's been here.
He hasn't had a double-double this year?
Connor McCaffrey posted his first career double-double.
Connor. They said Chris Murray. Oh, yeah.
No, I did.
Yeah, that does surprise me. That does.
10 rebounds.
Great tonight.
Best for the senior.
He was great.
All right, folks. The number to call in is 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. Want to take a minute to thank Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm on Fleur Drive in Des Moines. Give his team a chance to serve you better, get you a great rate on a variety of different insurance packages, policies, options. And let's get rid of the graphic there. Call his team at 515-256-6480. 515-256-6480 or visit him online at bradvanmeter.com. Let's add Tony to the mix, who's been on hold for quite some time. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Hi, Tony.
First of all, you can always take a few seconds before you welcome me to get your ads in. Those are most important. You got to get that revenue in.
That's right.
We got to pay Corey, and we got to get those ads
you know
going.
what's going to happen one of these days, Tony? If Gary keeps it up and doesn't allow me to get my ads in, you're all of a sudden going to see this. The lights are going to go off.
Oh,
See me anymore.
lights go out.
I've got a few things I want to cover. If I go long, let me know. But
You're
I got
fine.
a few things. Number one, let's just all agree, cancer sucks. Like,
No doubt.
you know, that was mentioned today, and we'll mention again in that Jimmy V game a week from today. Cancer sucks.
100%.
Number two, I like the professional look you're going with, Corey, today with the button-up shirt, and as well as I appreciate it when the coaches wore those suits and ties, because Josh Pastner did tonight. He had the full suit on, and I don't know. That's just me. I like the kick back to the old days, and the coaches wore the suits and ties.
Those sideburns got to go, though.
I agree, 100%. The sideburns were very bushy. Yeah,
He's been like that. Hasn't he been like that for years, though, Gary?
I think.
I
think so.
right.
Yeah.
What do you know about Pastner? Because obviously had a long tenure at Memphis.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, to tell you the truth. He was a player when I first coached against Arizona a long time ago, but I don't know him personally.
I will say, Ari Gold, I just saw him in the chat. There's no way you saw me on TV tonight. I'm in Sioux Falls, and I was keeping track of my 1-year-old daughter. But I do appreciate that you think I was on TV. I had a couple questions for Coach Close. I mentioned this in the last TCU game. Coach, do you believe in flush it games? I mentioned that, and I will correct myself. That TCU game was not a flush it game. Now that I had some time to think about it, Corey, like that was just instant.
Agree with me, Tony.
I know, but it was instant reaction. It was instant reaction. Like thinking back on it, like. But do you believe in flush it games, Coach?
Meaning you just
don't watch the tape and you just get rid of it and move on.
No, I watched the tape. I think you can learn something from it, and then once you do, you're done. I mean, you don't want to belabor it, but especially this time of the year, this is where you got to improve, and so you got to point some things out so that it doesn't keep repeating. But then I agree. Then you move on, and they did a good job of that tonight. They thought they played pretty sharp, and so I thought they recovered well from a disappointing performance.
And then one more for you before I get into a few things about the game. I wanted to wait till I saw you a few times. I remember you, Coach Close. I was a manager of a high school basketball team in 2001, and you were the head coach of Iowa City Regina with the Lou Chieda, and you beat us in the sub-state final. You beat my alma mater, and the Fort Madison Aquinas was who.
Oh yes, I do remember.
And I was the team
manager.
That was
my first year.
Yep. I thought, and then that was your first state tournament appearance as well, because I think you had 2 with Iowa City Regina.
Yeah, we did. For our first 2 years, we won. Our last year, we lost in the finals. But
I want to say you beat us by double digits or something like that. But I still forgive you.
It's all coaching.
I just wanted to get that little quick bit out of the way.
I still have that game
on tape.
Video. Oh yeah, I still got it.
That was Burlington, Iowa.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
A few things I do appreciate that Sanford, when he came in, he took I don't know if you want to call it benching or demotion or whatever, because he wasn't in the starting lineup. He still played with a spark when he came off the bench. Yeah, he didn't take it personally, and he came in right away and went for it.
And he's played hard all year. He's just not shooting the ball anywhere near what he's capable of, and I think it's a matter of time. I really do. He's too good a shooter not to break out of it. Maybe it'll happen this next week.
And I think it may. I think the sight lines and the fact that they, did play in a small high school gym or whatever you want to call that gym down in Niceville, that's tough to adjust going from Carver Hawkeye to something like that with the sight lines back-to-back games. I think Connor is so selective with his threes that you could say he's probably one of the top 2 3-point shooters on the team just because of how selective he is. Maybe not like an overall skill-wise, but when he shoots, it's in rhythm, it's the right shot, and you always feel confident this year that it's going to go in.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's
would just
it's a
think,
quicker release and more consistent. Yeah, I'd like to see him shoot
Gary,
a little bit
somebody
more.
who's shooting at that clip. I was saying the same thing at the end of this game today. Somebody who's shooting at the clip that Connor has shot at this year, to me, obviously I never played D1 basketball, but in my experience, it's hard not to get a little shot happy. But he does not hunt shots. I mean, you talk about guys who do not hunt shots. He does not.
Yeah. Well, he's a pass first guy. He always has been, and that's part of why he's good. He's their best passer, and it's not even close. I don't think. But boy, if he can add that to it, and I think he will. I think you'll see him taking more and more shots as the year goes on. But boy, he's a weapon. He's my kind of player.
And he just puts himself in position to be wide open, especially like when you're playing against a 1-3-1 zone like that. You can kind of pick your spots on the wings and the baseline there.
Mm-hmm.
And he just put himself in great position to be wide open for shots.
I agree.
Another thing I want to say was Keegan seems very similar to Chris in the fact where he does it quietly. Like, you know, the announcers mentioned, and I, as much as I hate to listen to them, but the announcers mentioned that, like, oh, great, there's, you know, Keegan with another double-double. And it just seems like he did it with no fanfare, you know, very quietly, and he just business-like approach and got his job done.
I looked at the NBA mock draft the other day just for fun, and he's the first Big Ten player mentioned, and somewhere in the 20s. It's early, and they're you know, it's just kind of fun to look at. But I thought that was kind of interesting that he was the first Big Ten player that came up, and somewhere in the middle of the first round.
I'll be honest,
especially
Gary.
with Hogan.
So I was just going to say real quick, living in the moment a bit, Gary. But I watched both of those games from beginning to finish in Niceville. And Chris Murray, I'll just be honest, Chris Murray looked one-dimensional and looked like he didn't know how to play through heavy contact. And I'm not saying that I don't have some of those same concerns now, but he was basically neutralized down there.
Yep.
Keegan went through some of those same struggles. Am I right in saying that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No doubt. And you know, this is a different role for him now. So, you know, he's gonna have some struggles, but that's why it's a good learning experience, and I'm sure he watched the tape and we'll see, you know, we'll see how he develops. But it's good for him to go through it now. That way, because it's only going to happen more and more as we get into the Big Ten.
Does he need to develop some more post moves? He seems like he.
He's a little quick inside. He's got to slow down a little bit, get a little stronger base and attack contact, and he's close though. He's close. He made a couple of real nice moves in there, and it's coming.
I appreciate Jason telling me that number 13 was Juwan's boy. So I don't mean to rip on Juwan Howard's kid, but anyways, Tony, anything?
You better watch out.
Yeah, I just got.
Come through.
I just got a few quick that are closing. I was going to say that because it's Jet Howard. So, I mean, Juwan's not going to say much for his boy. Three things. I want to correct what I said earlier. Iowa plays Duke at Madison Square Garden, not United Center. And that's going to be such a quick turnaround for the Iowa State game. Because how quickly do you get out of there, Coach? You know, something like that.
They might get a private charter plane out of there that night. I'm guessing they do. I mean,
it's still going to be late with how
late
it'll
be late.
Game starts.
No doubt.
And then you play Iowa State. Go ahead.
That's a weird turnaround. You play Iowa State Thursday, Gary.
Is that what it is? Thursday? They play them Tuesday and they play them Thursday. Yeah, that is a tough turnaround.
I want to say that was like added late just because
that's for TV. That's for TV. Yeah.
It is the Jimmy
against Monday Night Football. So
Jimmy V Classic too. Like you see Iowa playing that Jimmy V Classic a lot due to the cancer sucks.
Yeah, I think it was an opportunity they couldn't pass up.
Yeah.
To play Duke, national TV, Madison Square Garden. Hey guys, suck it up. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's go do it. And in the NCAA tournament, you play a game, then you play 2
Short
days later. Now
turnaround.
you don't travel, but look at it that way, that you're gonna have to do that when you get into the tournament.
I just want to appreciate you, Coach Close, even though you ended my managerial career in high school, but I will still be along with the ride as many years as we can see this. And I appreciate you as a great resource. Like, subscribe, get the merch. Maybe we should get like a relax shirt, like relax from Coach Close. That could be a good shirt, always.
I'll have to talk to Gary about that.
I know I'm gonna have to pick up my attire next trip out with Corey.
Hey, Tony, did you get the merch?
I did. Well, no, I haven't. UPS says it's going to get here by Thursday or Friday. So I'm not going to say 100% guarantee, because you can't say that with UPS, but by the Duke game, which is next Tuesday, I should have it, and I will be wearing that hoodie with my coffee mug that I got.
Hey, Tony, when's the last time you can say this? We don't have a post-game show of any type for a week. Because no football this weekend, no Iowa football this weekend, and we have a long break for basketball. So I'm going to enjoy the little rest. But yeah, next week I want you.
You deserve it. You deserve some R&R. I'll admit it.
My wife will put me to work. So let's hold off on the I deserve it. But anyways.
But thank you, Coach Close, and thank you, Corey, for doing this.
Yeah.
I look forward to enjoying the ride, and I'll be back for as many games post game as my 1-year-old lets me allowed to with her sleeping pattern. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Always love Tony. He's
a good man.
In the past and on the current Hawkeye beat.
Sorry, I ended his high school career. I feel bad.
Really.
Let
me read through some quick notes here on the result this evening. I mentioned obviously the fourth double-double in the last 5 games for Chris Murray, and he did it tonight in the first 13 minutes, 15 seconds of the game. Finished the contest with 31 points, career best 20 rebounds, and 4 assists. So just a great night all in all for Chris Murray. And caller, I'm going to put you on hold. The last time a Hawkeye pulled down 20 or more rebounds, I mentioned, was Chris's brother Keegan on November 16th, 2021. That was not against a Power 5 team, however. Again, the 31 and 20 are the most by a Hawkeye in an ACC Challenge game. Connor with his first career double-double. Tonight's victory was Fran McCaffrey's 499th as a head coach. So he's got a chance to hit 500 in Madison Square Garden. How about
Duke? That'd be great.
That would be a memorable night, wouldn't it, Coach?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't get that, then you got a chance to make memory against Iowa State 2 days later.
Yep.
So let's hope it's on Tuesday. Iowa's won 81 of its last 86 non-conference home games, dating back to 2012. They've improved to 2-1 all time against the Yellow Jackets. Tonight was the second of 3 games against ACC opponents over a span of 12 days. Clemson, Georgia Tech, Duke. Interesting scheduling quirk with the early season tournament. Of course, the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and then the Duke ad for next week. Somebody asked about turnovers in the chat. Iowa with just 9 turnovers on the day. I would say that's a number you can live with, right, Gary?
Oh yeah, that's not bad at all.
Georgia Tech with 11. Iowa turnovers were a bit of a bugaboo against TCU for the first time this year. Iowa didn't shoot the ball all that well in that first half. 40% from the field, but bounced back with 52% in the second half for a 45% combined first and second half shooting. Points in the paint, 36-34 in Iowa's favor, kind of a close battle there. Iowa dominating in second chance points, 27-15. Iowa didn't really get in the fast break that often. 5 fast break points tonight. What did Georgia Tech do to kind of stop Iowa in transition?
Well, I think that's one of the advantages of zone is a lot of times you can get back and get your defense established a little bit quicker than you can in man. So it might be one reason why he played that. I was interested that Iowa played a lot of zone tonight, more than they've played any time this year. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure exactly why. Maybe Georgia Tech's not a great 3-point shooting team, or maybe they want to get some work on it, whatever. But it was pretty effective, and they played it a lot. They probably played it half the game at least.
You have faith in Iowa playing zone
I zone gives me the willies. I'll be honest with you. I don't like it, but they may have to if they get into foul trouble or depth problems. They might have to go to it. And in some cases, teams don't react well to it, and it can be very effective. So especially against teams that don't shoot the ball real well. So I would guess we'll probably see it again. It was fairly effective tonight.
I always bring up Ken Palm, and I just love Ken Pomeroy's numbers. Do you ever look at that, or does that not interest you?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, Ken Palm has.
Fill me in.
What's that?
Fill me in.
Ken Palm has Georgia Tech in adjusted offensive efficiency 176, which is absolutely abysmal for a major conference team. So I when we came on here at first, you look at the number and okay, Iowa held Georgia Tech to 65. This is a Power 5 team. That number, I mean, what did you think of Iowa defensively tonight overall?
I thought they're fine. I agree with you. I don't think Georgia Tech's a real good team. So it wasn't a real tough test in terms of your defense. They're going to have to play. They're going to be playing better teams where their defense is going to be more important. But I thought it was decent for the most part.
All right, let's get to our caller who's on hold. And by the way, if you're jumping in here on StreamYard, I am not adding you to the show unless you use your real name. And if you come in here with a fake name, you better have your video on so I can see who you are, or I'm not going to add you to the show. So, yep, that usually gets them to file on out, Gary. To our next caller who's on hold. Thank you for calling.
This is a top-notch program. We can't have any of that going on.
Yeah, that's right. Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close, who's on the line.
This is John from Matoma.
Hey, John, how are you?
Hi, John.
I'm good. How are you, gentlemen?
Really couldn't be better.
Coach Close, why do we always leave the three-point line wide open and pack it in to help the interior defense? That always just drives me nuts.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's three-point defense is important. And I think that's got to be one of your thrusts is that you just can't give wide open threes. And at times they do. I think that's an area that they need to work on. Sometimes it's when the other team penetrates. I think Iowa's got to get better at containing the ball. When they get beat off the dribble and then somebody's got to come and help, and then now you're flying around, and you can leave people open from three. So a lot of times 3-point shooting is a result of teams doing a good job of penetrating and then kicking the ball out. So it's your 3-point defense is important. If you're a bad 3-point defensive team, you run the risk of getting yourself beat. So I think it's an area they got to work on, and especially containing the ball. I think that's I think if I could pick out one weakness right now defensively, I think that would probably be it. And I think the coaches probably would agree that they got to do a little better job of containing the ball handler.
Well, living in a town where you run into the Indian Hills players sometimes, and I've asked them before, and they just smiled and said they don't know how to play a zone defense. But another thing, I was listening to Connor and Patrick's podcast, and Connor said that last year his back hurt so bad sometimes he couldn't hardly bend over and tie his shoes during the season. I don't understand why coach would play him if he's hurting that bad, other than they say he's the glue on the guys coming off the bench, and he settles them down if they need him that bad. But if you're hurt, I wouldn't think he'd be an asset.
Well, I thought he was an asset last year, Gary, even if he was.
Yeah, I did too. And I think it's probably a situation where the only way it's going to get better is if you just don't play, and it's not going to get any worse if you do play, or at least it's not a situation where it's your health is at risk in terms of making it worse. So he's a tough kid. He's an important part of the team. He's going to get out there and give it what he can get. But he definitely looks much healthier this year, which is good because he's playing well.
I ran into the head coach for Indian Hills basketball, and at the grocery store, and I was asking him if the nil had penetrated the junior college level of basketball, and he said not to the level it has at Division One.
If the what had penetrated?
NIL, Neil.
Oh, NIL. Oh, okay.
Name, image, and likeness.
Yeah, I doubt it. Yeah, maybe in few select ones, but yeah, I would guess not.
The thing is, Gary, I was listening to an interview. This was a couple months ago. I want to say it was the Iowa soccer team. Now, I could be wrong on that. Girls soccer, women's soccer, one of those sports that's obviously not a revenue generating sport at Iowa. And the head coach was asked about NIL and has it affected the athletes? Has it affected the team? Might have been field hockey, come to think of it.
Mhm.
And the answer was, well, we've had Poncheros basically giving everybody free burritos, something like that. I mean, and I don't mean to laugh at that, but it's such a ridiculous gap, the between, and I understand it. Again, we're talking about major money in college basketball and especially college football, but I don't think NIL is affecting many of those smaller markets or non-revenue sports.
Probably not. No. Pretty much football and basketball for the most part. Iowa probably wrestling. I would guess they probably got a pretty good deal.
Just one last thing. Patrick seemed like he was struggling tonight, and I would love to have seen Desante Bowen in there, but I believe Patrick's a forward and Desante is a guard.
Correct.
Am I correct on that?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Could he not put Bowen in for Patrick because the height difference, or why would he not substitute him in? Because Patrick seemed like he was really struggling.
I don't know why Bowen got so few minutes in general. Obviously, you can mix and match lineups. That was the same question for RDHV here, Gary. Why didn't Desante play more than 6 minutes in this game?
I think it's a legit question because I thought he looked pretty good for the little he played. I think it's probably freshmen just earning their minutes and coaches getting confidence in them. I think it's probably something along those lines, but he probably deserved a few more tonight.
I will say this, Gary. Fran is the type of coach where usually when we're sitting here saying this, he's asked about it in the post game, and he'll usually say, "Yeah, I wanted to put him back in. I should have put him back in." And then you'll notice, at least this is something I've picked up on, that guy, whoever Fran looks back at later and says, I should have played him more minutes. He'll get extended run the next game. So now the next game is
Duke.
Against Duke. So maybe it's going to have to wait, but I wouldn't be surprised to see. Desante played well down in Niceville, I thought.
He had his moments for sure. Yeah, I like him. I think he's got a chance.
Anything else, John?
Just real quick, I watched who did Iowa State play the other night? UConn, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I watched that game, and it seemed like UConn sped him up and really frustrated him. So
I didn't see that game. UConn's good. I'm anxious to see Iowa State play. I've not seen him play this year, so I'm
hoping the Hawks can speed him up and get him frustrated and pull one out that way.
It'll be a busy week next week, John. No question about it.
Thanks, John.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you. Have a good night.
You as well.
You too.
All right. Let's go to Kyle here, who says, when teams don't try to push Chris around, he feasts. When they do, he struggles a bit. I think he might even be a better finesse player than Keegan, but Keegan handled the physicality better. And again, this is still early in Chris's feature year, Gary. You think he can figure out a way to deal with contact physicality?
I think so. It is early, and I think in Keegan's case, he had a few more weapons around him that made it maybe a little bit easier than Chris has got it now. He had his brother Chris, but I think I think it'll come. I do. I think it'll come.
He's going to have to if he's going to play in the NBA.
No doubt. Yep, no doubt.
Because you're going to get pushed around. So, all right. Ryan wants to know how many turnovers did Iowa have? 9. I think I mentioned that earlier. Ryan wants to know, Gary, did it really disrupt the team's offense when you change from man? Does it really disrupt the team's offense when you change from man to a 1-3-1 during the game?
Well, that's what some coaches do. They change defenses in hopes of, hopefully disrupting teams. I thought for the most part, Iowa handled it well. You need guards that can recognize what's going on and get teams organized. But some coaches made a living on changing defenses back and forth and trying to disrupt. I think the one thing that I would worry about is when you do that, are you really good at one of them, or are you just kind of average in both? Because your practice time is limited, and so that kind of thing might work against inexperienced teams. I think against more experienced teams, it might not be as effective at changing defenses, but certainly times it can do that.
I agree with this comment, and I know you have defended some of the fans in the past, Gary, but Clay says it's embarrassing to be in our, I know he's commenting, I guess, from personal experience, to be in our student section sometimes. It was a struggle to get people to stand tonight. I feel like I'm the pot calling the kettle black as I live 2 hours away, and I'm just not going to drive down on a weekday for a 6 p.m. game. But, Gary, there's plenty of fans, I've got to think, that are not showing up. And are students on break right now? Is that the deal?
I don't think so.
11:29. They shouldn't be. I mean, it is. I agree with Clay. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It was a little disappointing. I would agree. I mean, it's an 8 o'clock game, and Georgia Tech is not a name team. It'll be different when Iowa State comes in, and I think it'll be different when the Big Ten rolls around. But I don't like these late games. I don't think there's any question it affects attendance.
Well, everybody else is playing them too, Gary.
Well, not everyone's playing at 8 o'clock.
Well, but I'm just saying, this is not just Iowa that has to deal with early games and late games and other teams.
No, I agree. Yep.
Other schools manage a way to get students in seats.
Yeah, well, I think it's on the students.
Yeah,
get there. Yeah, get there. But I think tonight's weeknight after Thanksgiving. They're just getting back from vacation. It's an 8 o'clock game, Georgia Tech. I'm going to watch it on TV.
Okay, I have a stat here. Appreciate James reaching out to me with this number. So Chris Murray, of course, 31 points, 11 of 18 from the field, 20 rebounds. He's the second power conference player since 2010 to post 30, 20, and 4 in a game.
Nice.
Pretty impressive number. And how about this? According to ESPN Stats and Info, of course, Chris Murray, again, with the 31-point night, he is the first major conference player with 30 points, 20 rebounds, and 4 threes in a game since someone in 2007. Gary, can you guess who that person would have been in 2007? Not Iowa, just in
2007 that had 30, 20, and 4 threes?
4 threes.
2007.
What if I told you he's one of the greatest
Alvarez
players?
Tucker.
No. What if I told you he's one of the greatest players to ever play basketball?
Wow.
I'd say probably he's got to be top 10, right? And we're going to do a debate
Steph
about
Curry.
that. Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant.
30, 20, and 4 threes. So impressive
Kevin
company.
Durant was the National Player of the Year that year, and Orlando Tucker was runner-up.
Wow. Orlando Tucker was a runner-up. Wow. Well, he wasn't winning, right?
No, Orlando had a big time year, but Durant was Durant.
Absolutely. Kim Pagel says, I'm not sure we're going to be able to play man-to-man defense much this year. We get beaten off the dribble regularly. We can't keep the man with the ball out of the paint. Well, here's the deal. I think Iowa does have the athletes to play man-to-man better than they have I don't want to say the horses to play zone, but I trust Iowa in a man-to-man given some of the natural ability of guys like Tony Perkins, Aaron Eulis, etc., Chris Murray. Is that a fair assessment, Gary? You know what I'm trying to transcribe?
Yeah, I think so, but they're not there yet. I agree with them. I think but that's not uncommon in early in the year. I think it's probably the thing that happens the most at the beginning of the year is containing the dribble. It's a tough thing to do, and getting people in position to give some help to where the lanes aren't as wide open. So that's going to take some time. But no, I agree. I think they've got the foot speed to be able to do it. But the technique and the repetition to get it down is still something they got to work on.
And Gary Eric wants to know, what can shooters do to break out of a slump? I'm guessing he's referring to Peyton.
Well, that's a good question. I think, and a lot of times, what you'd like to see him do is take some to the hoop and get fouled, to get to the free throw line, get some buckets there. Shot selection is important. That's why one of the reasons why Connor shoots such a high percentage is, he takes really good shots. Peyton is a shooter, and sometimes he forces some shots with hands and face, and so you think you're not shooting very well, then you go back and look at the tape, and my guy, you got some guy's got his hand right in your face, and you're 3 feet behind the line. That's not a very good shot. So I think shot selection is important, but I also think if he can get some easy baskets around the hoop, get to the free throw line, get some confidence going, that would help too.
Credit to Jeff Goodman. One more stat here, or note, I should say, about Chris Murray's night. Keegan had 27 and 21 against North Carolina Central, and then he had a 26 and 18 game against Northwestern last year. 26 and 18 against a Big Ten team is impressive as well. But yeah, Chris has been. You take away those 2 games in Niceville, he has been absolutely dominant. Did he hurt? Do you think you hurt? Or you shouldn't. You would know this. Do you hurt your stock at all when you go down to an event like Niceville and you get a bunch of scouts down there, and 2 days you just don't show up?
Yeah, it probably hurts a little bit, but you got time to recapture it. Yeah, they probably got the same questions that you've got, and they want to. I got to go back and see that again. And now TCU's a good physical defensive team, and so they were ranked as high as like 14th or 15th before they lost. So that was not a bad team they were playing against.
And they lost without Mike Miles Jr., who makes a huge difference.
Yep.
And once he came back, he was great against Iowa. His first game back in the starting lineup.
They're going to win a lot of games. They'll be in the tournament. That's, quote, not a bad loss if losses are bad.
And who was it tonight? I think it was Seth Greenberg made a comment during halftime. Now he just, he can kind of get to rambling at times. But he made a comment about Clemson because, of course, Clemson beat Penn State this evening in double overtime. Seth Greenberg said, "I see that Clemson team." I think he said finishing in the top third of the ACC. Do you buy that?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I haven't seen enough of the ACC, but what I've seen has not overwhelmed me. Both North Carolina and Duke, I saw a little bit of their games, and they're good, but they're not. It's early. It's really early, and rankings don't mean a whole lot now. But I thought both teams looked young and raw and talented, but not a team yet. And Purdue just manhandled Duke. That was not even a contest. And North Carolina's lost 2 games, so maybe.
I'm sure one thing you don't like is an old school coach. Is it fair to say you're an old school guy, Gary?
Sure.
Not saying you're old. The stupid review. I thought it was a stupid review when Connor got plowed through, and it was at the end of the shot clock, and we have a 5-minute break to review to see if just call the foul and move on. What's the big deal about the shot clock? Just reset the clock. I don't understand. The clock operator had it right. Why does that take so long? See, to me, those are the kind of reviews that interrupt game flow.
Yeah. I don't know.
Great insight, Gary.
I didn't see that. I must have been flipped somewhere else on that one. I might have been looking at Wisconsin for a hair, or maybe Virginia and Michigan. I don't remember that one.
What did you think of Wake Forest? Were you impressed with Wake? Because they got 1 loss.
They're not bad. The guard was terrific. Big time guard. He scored 30 on them, and he made some big shots. They got 2 or 3 big physical guys. The coach is from Lone Tree. Steve Forbes, he does a good job. They play hard. That's a good win. You go into Madison to beat Wisconsin. That's going to be a nice plane ride home.
All right. Anything that I'm missing, Gary, that you can think of before we kind of wrap this thing up?
As usual, Corey, you have covered everything perfectly.
All right. Let's make sure, just for good measure here, as a final for everybody, 81-65, the Hawks over the Yellow Jackets this evening. Again, Chris Murray with a career night, to say the least. Again, with 31 points, 20 rebounds, also chipped in 4 assists. And again, 5 of 8 from the free throw line, 4 of 8 from 3, 11 of 18 overall. He was sensational. Philip Obracha had a nice second half, 13 points. They needed help because it was a Chris Murray show early. And I tell you, at one point I tweeted out, I think he had 8 field goal makes, Gary, and the other 4 starters had 4 field goal makes combined.
Philip was good. I thought he was solid. He had, he probably had close to 7-8 rebounds. He made some nice passes out of the post. I thought he was fine.
5 turnovers. Did have 5 turnovers tonight.
Did he have 5 turnovers? Well, then, dadgummit, he's making me look bad.
And then
how many assists did he have?
2.
2 assists is all he had?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he had more than that. Well, so much for that.
2 assists, and keep in mind he is, he's going to be playing through. I don't know what Georgia Tech's biggest guy on the court was tonight, but he's going to be going through some.
Yeah, they when they're playing zone and they were not physical. So no, that was.
And we went short off the bench. No Agundale at all today. So
no.
Anyways, let's get to our final caller of the night. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Coach Gary Close.
Grand finale.
Hey, Corey, how you doing?
Good. Who's this?
Just had a quick question for Coach Close.
Okay.
Sure.
Hey, Coach Close, is Chris Moore.
I think we lost.
Oh.
I think we lost our caller. That's too bad.
Oh man.
We'll know what he said, Gary.
That's disappointing.
It was probably going to be something really dynamic. But
sorry, he cut you off. Corey must have cut you off. That's too bad.
I've done it before. I'll probably do it again, Gary.
Hey, you're the man. You're in charge.
That's a scary thing. Tony Perkins with 11 points tonight. Aaron Eulis with 5. Am I looking at that right? Yeah. No.
How many assists did Aaron Eulis have?
Sorry, 0 points for Aaron Eulis. What am I talking about? 5 assists for Eulis. I'm looking at this completely wrong. Sanford with 5 points. Tony Perkins with 11. Connor McCaffrey with, again, 10 and 10. But the difference in this game was the bench. Iowa with 17 points off the bench, just 5 for Georgia Tech. So I'm kind of ripping everybody but Chris Murray, but Iowa's bench gave him 17 when Georgia Tech's bench did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and they clobbered him on the glass. That was a wipeout on the glass.
Which is not going to happen very often this year, would be my guess. Is that fair to say? 44 to 35.
What was it?
44 to 35, plus 9.
Oh, it was only 9? Oh, I figured it'd be worse than that.
When I was out rebounding a team, it feels like more than it is.
How many offensive rebounds did he get?
Let's see. Offensive rebounds, 15 for Georgia Tech, 19 for Iowa.
Georgia Tech got 15. See, Iowa played a lot of zone, and it does. If you don't do it a lot, it can hurt your rebounding. Both teams gave up a lot of offensive rebounds, and both teams played a lot of zone.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we've got Iowa Duke next Tuesday, Gary.
8:30 Central Time. They're playing that game at 9:30 back east.
Let's hold on a second. Let's remember. It's approximately 8:30 because we got a 6:00 game out there first, and they got to get off the court.
Oh, they're the second game of the doubleheader. Wow.
So this game might not start.
They are going to get home late. Holy cow. 8:30, 10:30, 11. Whoa. They're going to be on 4 or 5 in the morning.
And then they play on Thursday.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough turnaround. Yeah, you bet.
Let me pull up. Do you remember the first game on Tuesday? What that first game?
I have no idea.
Let's see. Illinois, Texas. So
that's a great doubleheader.
That's a great doubleheader. Yep. 2 versus 16, and then 17 versus. We'll see if Iowa might be ranked.
I was going to try to get a guess for Tuesday night, but man, 10:30 at night, that might be tough.
Well, we know Jess Settles goes to bed at what 9:30, right?
Oh yeah, he's been in bed for a couple hours now. He's got to get up. He's got to get up and feed the hogs.
And then that same night, Gary, Wisconsin gets a Big Ten game. Maryland comes to town, so Wisconsin gets a couple early Big Ten games that week.
Wow, they got their first Big Ten, and Maryland's undefeated. Maryland's got a coach. That guy can coach. I have not seen them play, but they destroyed Louisville, but that doesn't count because Louisville's got a JV team.
So who would win? Let me ask this: who would win between Louisville and Cal?
And Cal?
Can we get those? Can we get those teams on a neutral court, Gary?
Cal's bad too. Oh yeah, they hadn't won a game. Did they win a game in the tournament? They went over down there.
No, they haven't won a game in a tournament.
No,
they haven't won anything.
Yeah, that would be. I don't know.
I know people are going to get tired of me bringing this up, but let me just real quickly read you the scores. UC Davis over Cal, 75-65. Kansas State over Cal, 63-54. UC San Diego over Cal, 64-62. Southern University over Cal, 74-66. Texas State over Cal, 59-55. TCU over Cal, 59-48. Clemson over Cal, 67-58. They don't get blown out by teams, Gary. In fact, they've only their biggest loss was by 11 to TCU. But they can't.
No, that's true. Man, they got some bad losses in there. Whoa.
Well, you see, you saw what is Louisville? What's their
Louisville hasn't won a game. They're 0-6 or 7. And they're getting killed. They're getting murdered.
So what is wrong with Louisville? Have you seen
I think it's probably all the NCAA issues.
Yeah.
Who wants to go there? They might be, they may not be playing a tournament for a couple of years. I don't know, but that's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing new coach, everybody deserted the program, and with NCAA cloud hanging over them, they probably don't have any players.
All ignited because of the wonderful Rick Pitino, right? Let me just say this. Their first 3 games, they lost by 1 to Bellarmine, lost by 1 to Wright State, lost by 1 to Appalachian State.
Yeah, but those 3 teams are bad.
I know, but they've lost by 1 in every single one of those games.
What about since then?
Since then, they got beat by 26 to Arkansas. They got beat by 32 to Texas Tech, got beat by 19 to Cincinnati, and tonight they got beat by 25 at home to Maryland.
And there was nobody there. There was nobody there.
They get a 6-7 or 6-1 Miami team coming up next. And you know who else is really bad? One more thing, and then I promise we'll get off here. You know who
Florida
else?
State. Florida State's bad.
Florida State is awful.
I find that hard to believe.
They've lost to Stetson, Troy, UCF, Siena, and their one win is against Mercer by 9.
Wow. They must have lost a lot of players at graduation.
I mean, Nebraska made them look bad.
Nebraska beat them?
Nebraska beat them by double figures this week. So, I don't know what's going on with it. It's weird. I mean, Cal, you kind of understand Cal, but Florida State and Louisville, 2 of the more.
I don't even know who the coach of Cal is.
I don't either. I have no idea.
That used to be a great game when I was at Stanford. Stanford Cal. That was a dandy.
Let's just be happy that Iowa took care of business against Clemson and lost to TCU, because I think we agree that would have been much worse if you lose to Clemson and then you beat Cal by 30. That does nothing for your schedule.
Yeah, no, the TCU loss is not bad. TCU will probably work themselves back into the top 25, and they'll be a tournament team.
Are you going to be able to deal with postgame next week? What if the game ends at 11 p.m. Central Time?
That might be a problem. Yeah. I might have to just make a little cameo appearance.
Yeah. Sounds good. Well, folks,
if they don't win, I'm not going to show up at all. If they win, I'll be there.
All right, folks. One more reason to root for Iowa next week. We'll
there
get Coach Gary close after Iowa Duke next Tuesday at MSG, 8:30 p.m. Approximately 8:30 p.m. Central Time.
When's the last time Iowa played Duke?
Would it have been the Chris Street game?
No.
So they've played since then.
Yeah, I think we played them. We played them the next year at Carver. That was a home and home.
I'll be able to tell you here.
94. We played them at Carver in 94. I wonder if they've played them since.
I can tell you in 2 seconds here.
We played them a lot when I was at Iowa. Didn't beat them very often.
So they're Iowa's 1-7.
And
against
I can tell you the win. Hawaii.
what year?
Probably 95,
94.
94.
94.
Chess Settles had an unbelievable game. Coach K, after that game, took a leave of absence. We beat him so bad.
Took a leave of absence.
He had a bad back. He had health problems, and he did not. I don't think he coached the rest of the year.
Back in 94. Wow.
We beat him in Hawaii. Yep.
December 27th, 1994. They have played twice since then. One when you were still a part of that staff. And that was an Iowa team that you guys were ranked number 10 in the country and lost to unranked Duke. Gary, how do you explain that?
What year was that?
That was 1995.
The next year, was that at home?
Does it tell me if it was at home? It does not tell me if it was. No, it was at home. Well, I don't know. It could be neutral. It doesn't say.
95.
95. November.
Hey, you try to forget those losses. I don't remember that one.
88, 81. But you guys were ranked number 10. And according to this, Duke was unranked that year. Gary.
Well, see, that was after the year that Coach K didn't coach the whole year, and they were bad. They were like 500.
How did you lose to them?
I mean, the year before they were that bad. They weren't that bad then. He was back, and they just didn't. It was early in the year. They weren't ranked yet because they were so bad the year before.
And yes, the last time these two teams played was in 2001. So I guess Alford got them once. I don't know if that was it was in November 27th. Iowa was ranked 7th in the country, lost to number 1 Duke, got beat by 18.
Wow. That must have been like what they're doing next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, or it could have just been one of those early tournaments.
Yeah.
What I was going to say real quick, you're right about you guys played them close. You guys played them in 90, 1991, 1992, 93, 93, 94, 95. And again, you beat the one win was in 94. The other losses, so 15, 13, 9, 3, and 7. So
we played them in the NCAA tournament 2 years. The years they won it, the years they were really good. And one year we had to play them in Greensboro, North Carolina. How about that? Not only we played them back to back. We got them in the second round of the NCAA tournament back to back years. 1 year in Minnesota and 1 year in Greensboro, when they were in the midst of winning national championships. Wasn't a very good draw, NCAA. Then we had a home and home. We went down there for the Chris Street game. They came back up to our place the following year and beat us in a pretty close game. And then we played them a couple times in tournaments. I think we played them in the Great Alaskan Shootout. That was the game.
Was it?
The 95 game was that was the championship game in the Great Alaskan Shootout. Really? We had a big lead and blew it.
Lost by 7.
Yeah. Yep. We had beaten Connecticut with Ray Allen the night before. And then we went in there to play them in the championship game and had a lead, but then lost it at the end. That was not a good finish. I remember that. I was at the Great Alaskan Shootout. I'm almost positive.
Whatever happened to the Great Alaska Shootout? There was an Alaska event up until recently, correct?
Well, that was the tournament.
Yeah.
That was the tournament. But then do you want to go to the Bahamas or do you want to go to Anchorage? That's why they lost it.
Well, there was.
They did a great job of that. They had families involved, and it was a great. We went twice, and I, of course, when I was a kid, the Great Alaskan Shootout was a big deal.
I was thinking.
Then Maui came. That was like the next big one, along with the Rainbow in Hawaii, and then all these ones in Bahamas and Bermuda, and that just wiped them out.
I could have sworn. I could be wrong. I'm gonna look this up when the show's over. I was thinking that Fran took a team to Alaska. Obviously, it's not the same tournament. I was thinking they had an event in Alaska in the last 10 years, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. You could be. We went to Alaska our first year at Iowa, and we had a dramatic comeback in the semifinal game, and then won I think we beat Providence maybe or Connecticut in the final. We beat North Carolina State with Jim Valvano in the semis, and so we won the tournament. And it really kind of catapulted at the beginning of our year. We won our first 16 games, and it started there with a dramatic comeback in Alaska.
Well, Coach, we could be here all night talking about
We could.
We got to mix in more stories, and that's one thing that it's probably on me. It's probably my fault. But one thing that Don Patterson does all the time on our show, he's always bringing up old stories with Coach Fry. So you got to do the same thing with Coach Davis. And
yeah, Coach Fry, boy, he was as good as it gets. I loved him. He's a good man.
Glorious time back in the 90s.
Oh man, it was
Dr. Tom, and
it was a great time. Good competitive teams, great coaches. It was a great era.
All right, folks, one more shout out to Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm in Des Moines on Fleur Drive. You can visit them at 4229 Fleur Drive in Des Moines. They've got great deals on auto insurance, renter's insurance, boat insurance, whatever you're trying to insure. Give Brad and his team a call. They've been in business since 1999. They're serving customers border to border here in the state of Iowa. 515-256-6480 or online at bradvanmeter.com. Appreciate Brad sponsoring the show. And Gary, we will talk to you next Tuesday, hopefully talking about a big win over the Blue Devils.
We're going to get them. We'll see you Tuesday.
All right, folks, for Coach Close, I'm Corey Brada. We will talk to you Tuesday.